So, hello, welcome to this great speech that we have now on Sponsors Track A. I have Katerina with me, and we are going to talk about, hello Katerina, we're going to talk about website optimization tips for bloggers. And what I was saying to Katerina, that I loved reading about this speech, is that I read that you don't need to have coding skills in order to do what he's going to propose us to do with her blog. So, Katerina, looking forward to listen to your speech. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you all for joining in for my talk today, which is delivered straight from my home. It is pleasure to be here, and I'm really happy to be present, although I would have loved to be able to visit you in person and network in Greece. In any case, it's great that we have the ability to connect online from not so far away, actually, because I am in Bulgaria, your neighbor. And I do hope that all of you gain a lot of useful advice from this event, which you'll be able to implement straight away. This is also the aim of my talk today. I will provide you with some practical tips specifically tailored for bloggers, you will learn how to check the performance on your website and a few easy things that will help you optimize with no coding skills required, as we said. So let's dive in. I will share my that's okay. I'd like to start with a few words about myself. Now, SiteGround just turned 17 years old, and I'm very proud to have been part of this big company and family already for 6 years. And 4 of them I spent in our customer care and sales department while I was living in Madrid in Spain. And afterwards, I moved back to Sofia, where our headquarters office is, to join our affiliate partnership team. So I've been working in this team for more than 2 years now, and my job consists of looking for new opportunities, finding new partners, communicating with them, and optimizing the existing ones. But I do help them as well with some migration or technical difficulties sometimes, and also with website performance and optimizations. So if you haven't set the performance among one of your top website priorities, you should definitely reconsider it. I know that many of you are probably much more passionate about the visual aspect of your website, the design, the appeal of the team, and the visuals that you're using. This, of course, and it's obviously that they play a huge role in how the user perceives your website and also impression your website have on them. However, the website performance is also something, it's also a vital factor and should not be neglected, because people want to be on your website and to be able to do what they came to do, be it to download an MP3, to purchase something, or simply to read an article. So if you slow them down even just a tiny bit, the result may be for them hating the experience, and also they'll be just leaving without conversion. Considering it, you have to consider that the visitor's attention span right now is about 5 to 8 seconds at most. So the faster your website is, the better. And also, of course, over the years, there have been many studies about this and about the correlation between the slow website, or how fast is a website, and how long the visitors stay on the website. So normally, a high bounce rate would indicate like a poorly constructed website, while small low bounce rate usually indicates that things are running quite smoothly. And last but not least, something that is quite important, as you probably already know this, but back in 2010, Google started including the speed as some of the top priorities among the rankings. So if SEO is important for you, then speed definitely should be too. It's the same now with the Google Core Web Vitals. If you have listened to Vinit's presentation earlier, you already know about this as well. That will be implemented in May. So pay attention to this, to the speed. Now, what you need to do first when it comes to speed is to check the performance of your website, because you might be loading the website on your end every day and thinking that your speed is just fine. But since you recently visited the website, your browser most likely stores it in the cache, which makes the site load almost instantly. But this does not necessarily mean that the site is super fast. Also, even if it is, a normal user who is visiting your website for first time may not have the same experience as you. In fact, users with different geographical locations will have completely different experience. So if the website is hosted in a server, for example, in Greece, it will load differently for a person that accesses the website from Europe and versus someone who accesses it from the States. But the good thing is that the technology now is so advanced that we have the ability to make things much better, and I'll tell you a bit more later on this. And also, in addition, why we check the performance of the sites, because there might be a certain plugin or any other factor from the ones that I will review today, which is slowing your website down. Okay, so the only way to learn which or what is causing a slow website is by testing, and more testing. Luckily, there are multiple free tools available which you could use. I've listed a couple of them here. Each one of them has a score system, but my advice is to not go chase numbers. If you have a site that loads between 1 to 2 seconds, you've done a pretty great job. Also, these tools that I've listed here, they allow you to record the loading time before and after the improvements. So my recommendation is to test your website, start by recording the performance, then implement some of the things I'll tell you, and I'm sure you will see some improvements. Now, I've used as example one of those tools, Pingdom. Pingdom, GTmetrix, and Google PageSpeed are probably the most popular ones. You may have already used some of them. But yes, when you test with any of these tools, make sure that you select the closest to where your site is hosted data center. GTmetrix, for example, also has the option to test different browsers, which is great. And also you can test on mobile versus desktop performance, so you know what's the difference. And of course, the most important thing that you should be looking at, it's the loading time. This is the only thing that Google and your visitors will be concerned with. Also these tools, so all of them provide a recommendations report. As you can see from the example, the results are sorted in order of severity, and in this case we are advised by Pingdom to use GZIP compression. Now, just before we look at the factors that play an important role in the performance, I want to highlight the importance of backing up your website right before making any changes to it. It would be great if you can develop that a bit, because this will save you a lot of headache. Sometimes when installing plugins to make changes on the website, something can break, and it's great to have a copy of the site to revert back to, because it will, believe me, it will save you a lot of trouble and headaches. So a good hosting provider normally would provide daily backups, but if you don't have it as an option, you can also use a plugin to create backups automatically on your end. Now, the first thing we'll look at are the images. We all love them, and the website without them is well, not always perceived as active, if not to say sometimes people even consider it as boring. So, but I can imagine that many of you have blogs with tons of travel or cooking, fashion images. And that's why I intentionally start with the images, because you should know that when a browser gets a request for a web page, the more data that has to be transferred to the visitor, the longer it takes for the website to load. And images are the most common the images are the most common cause for large page sizes. And I know that high resolution images may look fantastic, but if they are not compressed, they can be massive in size, and this will take longer to load for a visitor, especially if the connection is slower on his end. We do have a few easy and pretty straightforward rules when it comes to optimizing the images, to reduce their dimensions, compress them, make sure we choose the right format, and to place the sliders. One of the most common mistakes that people do is to list thumbnails using the original uploaded photo instead of resizing it. What I mean is that there's no need to keep an image larger than what you want to display on the website. If you want to display, for example, a picture 200 by 200 pixels, you don't need to upload a larger one and then reduce it or show it smaller with HTML or CSS. As you can see from the example, the size of the file is completely different. And when you reduce even with a few kilobytes an image, when you combine all the images from one page, usually the performance gain would be quite significant. Another thing to do would be to compress the images. The good news is that compressing the image does not necessarily mean that you have to sacrifice from the quality. I'm sure all of you prefer high quality images and you want to keep it like that, but there are different plugins that can help you with this. For example, HG Optimizer, www, WP Tiny PNG. What they do is basically strip off the image of all unnecessary data, which can be the geographical location where the photo was taken, or the GPS location where the photo was taken, the model of the camera which was used, the time and date of which that image was taken. So these plugins will help you that, but without damaging so much the quality. As mentioned earlier, another thing to do is to consider the format. Now, the PNG format is an uncompressed file. Obviously, when you compress an image, it will lose some information. So uncompressed file will be a lot higher quality and with a lot more depth and detail. But the downside is that the file will be quite big and large to load. JPEG is a compressed file. As you can see, is like more than twice smaller than PNG. Of course, it reduces the quality, but it is significantly smaller, so it will load a lot more faster. And WebP is one of the newest and probably most exciting image formats that came out. This format may decrease the size of your image between 25 and 35%. And the great news is that the main browsers already support it. Also, there, for example, the SG Optimizer, the plugin that I mentioned in the previous slide. This is a plugin which is developed by SiteGround, which you can download for free from the WordPress repository, and it does a lot of things related to optimization. But among them, one of the options that we implemented is to allow our users to create WebP versions of all the images from the WordPress sites with one click. So when you do that, these load really smaller and they're transferred quite fast to the visitors. Now, sliders are something that looks pretty cool. At least I like them a lot, of course, depending on what website, but they usually load or they usually use a lot of JavaScript to operate. And it tends to slow down the website. Furthermore, not all of the plugins that enable the slider functionality on WordPress sites are written in light and optimized code, so be careful with them. Last but not least, sliders aren't particularly user-friendly on mobile devices, so if your design allows it, my advice is to simply replace your slider with a single static image. Now, I hope you're already doing this, but in case you do not, I want to outline that videos also tend to be pretty large. So if you're using videos on a website, the way to improve the video performance is to use external video hostings like YouTube or Vimeo. They handle the compression and fast delivery to viewers without slowing down the delivery of the rest of the content. Moving forward to a few other things. You probably already know this, but CSS and JavaScript are controlling presentation format, layout, and behavior of different elements. So it's a must to be optimized, especially if you have some teams that creates a lot of operations like that. Now, caching. One more thing. You can use plugins to help the minification of JavaScript and CSS, like WP Rocket, which is a premium plugin, and SG Optimizer, which I already mentioned. Another thing would be the caching. This is probably one of the easiest things to do, and it's a great technology that some of the hosting providers have included in their plans too. How it works, basically, instead of going through the entire page generation process every time, when cache is enabled, after the first load of the web page, a copy gets stored in the cache, and then it's served to every subsequent user. As a result, the site performance improves quite a lot because the content is not dynamically loaded every single time. The easiest way to cache a website is through plugins like WP Rocket, WP Super Cache. Super Cacher is another SiteGround plugin that is developed by us. We have made it such an improvement in the Super Cache that allows websites loading time to go from 2-3 seconds to 0.5 seconds, or basically it's quite amazing, and it's about between 50 and 500% faster, the sites that come. Now another thing to do would be to enable CDN. The CDN basically stands for Content Delivery Network. That is a network of servers placed all over the world. Once it is enabled on the website, it will keep a copy of your website on its server network, and the users from different points across the world will be accessing your website from the closest to them data center. Basically, what it does is reduce the distance between your website and your target audience. There are many content delivery networks that help improve the site. If your hosting provider doesn't provide you with one, you can look into Cloudflare and Amazon CDN. We, for instance, we partner with Cloudflare, and we offer it for free to our clients, and this way we add over 200 worldwide data centers on top of our servers. One small tip from me, and something that not many people know, but when you activate CDN, it takes time. So make sure that you wait between 24 and 48 hours before you make tests again on the site speed, because the CDN takes time to propagate, so you won't see the change right away. You just need to give it a bit of time. Now, broadly, this is a new generation Google algorithm, which is kind of a successor to the popular GZIP compression. Basically, broadly compresses the website into smaller data size and makes it a lot more faster to transfer. It's kind of like between 15 and 20% faster than what you have with compression. There are a few things, easy things that you can do with your WordPress to optimize this, to reduce the number of posts that are shown on the index. You can do this from the dashboard. In the settings, go to reading settings, blog pages show at most, and just change the value to a lower number. The same goes for the comments. You can manage them from. You can manage them from the WordPress dashboard. I know that the communication with your audience is, of course, important, but if you get a lot of comments on your website, that will slow your site in two ways. The first one is that you'll make the web page more dynamic, and the second is that we'll just add a lot to the size of the page and HTML output. Another thing to do would be to minimize the use of external scripts, like, for example, that could be like tracking tools or some different fonts that you may add to the website. And now we've come to a big chapter in the website optimization, which is the themes and plugins. Plenty of templates, kind of like Swiss Army knives. They provide a complete set of everything that you can think of, and multi-purpose themes cater for several markets, but you may end up with a theme that includes a list of several markets, and you may end up with a theme that doesn't really fit what you want to do. Like, you may want to do a simple blog, but you actually have a theme with a real estate or financial market tools in it. So you don't really need that. Better stick with a simple and clean theme. It's a lot more beneficial for you. Now, when you select a theme, look for one either in the WordPress repository, or if you rather would like to use a premium theme, look for a reputable company that's well known in the WordPress community. Read reviews for the themes. Try getting some actual feedback from users. Check whether the company is trusted in the WordPress community. Don't trust a theme provided by an unknown designer that does not respond to their customers. It's important to have a well-written theme, because the quality of the theme code affects every part of your website. It's usually better to go with a simpler theme than to choose a theme that's bloated with complex layouts, flashy animations, or any other unnecessary features. You can always add those through WordPress plugins. Also, make sure that you select a theme that is either mobile friendly or has a native mobile version. When you run tests on the website, you can also test how the mobile version performs as well. Oops. Now the plugins are also a great thing, but still we have to be careful with them because they can be quite overwhelming for the website. I will never forget one of our clients that came for help. She still has a beautiful website, very simple, super minimalistic design. For me, it was a true gem in design, and should have been loading in less than 0.5 seconds. But the site was loading for more than 7 seconds, and I was curious. I wanted to look at the files to see what causes this, because it was, for me, was there was really no reason for that. And when I looked at her files, I found over 40 plugins. I don't remember if it was 46, 48, it was crazy. Even 40 is crazy. So don't ever do this, please, because most of those plugins usually, like when you install many plugins, some of them may overlap functionality. So make sure that you use, if you have a plugin that includes several functions, make sure that you use all of them. Don't install just another plugin if one of your active plugins already do the same job. Also, make sure to delete the plugins if you don't want them anymore or you don't use them anymore, because that adds a tremendous junk on your files, and it will also increase the size of your backup and put an overwhelming amount of load on the server resources while a backup is generated. So it's just better to get rid of the plugins that you don't use. Or you could also look for alternate methods to use third-party services for automating scheduling tasks, like sharing your latest post on social media, for example. And last but not least, an important part is to keep both plugins and themes up to date, because most of those updates in the plugins and the themes either offer security patches, new features, sometimes bug fixes, or even speed improvements. And a lot of times those updates are just a combination of all of these things. So keeping your plugins and themes up to date will also allow you to use more recent versions of PHP, for example, and that will additionally give your site a performance boost. And last but definitely not least, the hosting provider also plays a vital or maybe a huge role in all what we've been talking about. Before you go for a cheaper or random provider, you must consider that your hosting will impact the way your website works and how fast it loads, of course. So choosing a quality service should be perceived more like a business investment rather than just another expense, especially if you're trying to make your site your primary source of revenue. Now, I'd say there are quite a few things to consider when it comes to hosting, but for me, they're reflected in technology, security, and support that the hosting provides. So make sure that your hosting provides top-notch infrastructure that uses latest software and speed-enhancing technologies, such as HTTP2, PHP 7, even the WebP image format we talked about. Normally, a good hosting provider will also provide you with automated updates, backups, free CDN, SSL certificates, or sometimes even take some extra measures and offer extra features. Like, for example, one of the SiteGround values is our belief in constant in-house innovation, and we have quite a big team of technician architects that work on technologies and service improvement. We call them secretly in our team, we call them the magic team because they really do magic sometimes. And they have been able to create unique solutions that no other hosting company has done before us, like the CH root isolation, the PHP ultrafast, the new MySQL setup that we just launched. And we also do have a superior AI anti-bot system that keeps malicious traffic away. So
okay, great. Katerina, I'm really sure that you're a magic team here there in SiteGround, but unfortunately, we will have to end this session, and I will have to wrap up because we have to go to the next session. So
okay, yeah, I mean, this was my last one anyway. So thank you all for listening, and if you have questions, if you would like to just join the SiteGround booth, I'll be there.
Yes, you gave me an excellent way to end this session, because as I look to the chat, I please invite you to join Katerina on the sponsors booth of SiteGround. She has a lot of interesting things to share with you about optimizing websites, and I'm sure that you're going to have a great Q&A session. So it was really nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you shared with us, and thank you, SiteGround, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
So I hope to see you again sometime soon.
Thank you. You too. Hopefully in life in Greece.
Exactly. We will really happy to have you here with us in another event. It will be really great. So thank you everyone for being with us here with Katerina today, and please join her on SiteGround on their sponsor booth. Bye.
Bye bye.